In Speakeasy, we are transported back to the roaring 1920s when Manhattan was under control of Lucky Luciano, a mobster who divided Manhattan into different districts. That way each mobster could handle their, quote, operations. The goal in this game is to become the most successful mobster in history by gaining the most money. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Wolfpack. Today we're talking all about a game that you all voted for a review on, and that is Speakeasy. As always, this is not a sponsored review and I did purchase this game on my own as well. Tim doesn't like this game, oh no. Okay, so let me first go ahead and break down how this game works and then we'll dive all into my thoughts in the very end. Now what you're going to do on your turn is take one out of your 4 mob bosses, your capos, and you can go to any of these spots on the board. The first place we'll look at is the contractor's office over here. When you go to these spots, you have them speak to a person of interest, have a little chat with them. And then here at the contractor's office, you're gonna resolve the effects from top to bottom. I can gain 1 book. Well, what do you do with books, Tim? Well, here, you don't actually read these books. You're gonna be using them to cook books later in the restaurant because they're gonna be doing some shady things around taxes. Now from there, you go straight to the bottom action, which lets you build twice. And these are speakeasies and a still. You only have 1 still that you can build in your entire operation, but you have a bunch of different speakeasies, the name of the game. Now to build a speakeasy, you just grab any of these from the bottom and pay the cost. So $3, $5, and $8. And then from there, you take off that particular speakeasy and then place it on the board. When you do that, you also gain the bonus listed on the bottom of the building. And then when you build out a group of buildings like shown here, then you also will gain a discount when you upgrade to stronger buildings on the right side. So let's say I paid $3 and then I'm gonna take the speakeasy and put it on any open spot on the board. And I'm looking for these shield and circle icons over here. So if it's an empty spot, I can just place it there. But what you're looking for is that these tiles are gonna show you police officers that are gonna come in the next round. And then these tiles is gonna show you the mob war that's gonna happen after this phase. So you have to be wary and keep note of that. On top of that, you'll also notice that there are a bunch of these red mobster buildings all over the board. A fun part about this game is that you can take over that mob boss area. And to do so, you check the strength listed in this particular district. So in this district, I need to have over a strength of 4 in order to take over this mobster area. Which then begs the question, how do you gain strength? You look on your player board and there's this yellow marker right in the middle, and as you increase this marker, it increases your strength. Plus, you notice here how I have some goons, some henchmen up top. You can discard these for extra strength as well. Later on, you can also use the associate mobster's strength, which is this tile shown here, in one of these mobster takeovers. Now, why do you want to build speakeasies? Well, they are precursors and give discounts for the stronger buildings, aka the nightclubs and the casinos. And when you build a casino finally in this game, it allows you to generate passive income at the end of the round. It's gonna give you $5 extra at the end of each act, and of course, the whole point of this game is to generate the most money. So this is one way to get some passive income. The stills I mentioned that you can build, these are gonna help you generate some barrels, which will also, later on when you sell these, will generate money for you too. Now the next spot in the contractor's office shows you a card. These cards are one-time use abilities, and you can also use this at the very beginning of your turn before you even send out one of your capos to speak to a person of interest. They'll also give you bonus points at the end of the game, and they have some really cool actions like here it gives you a free mobster attack action and $5 extra at the end. And you also want to pay attention to how unique their patterns are, because each unique one will score you bonuses at the very end too. This was the contractor's office, and right next door where we'll go next is the city planning office. And also, point of note, I'm also showing you the 2-player board because on the back there are going to be more people to talk to for the 3 and 4 player versions. As you can guess, this 2 times symbol for buildings here means you can build twice, nightclubs and casinos. You know what they do now, so we'll go to the bottom. This one says you can gain an operations card. Now there are 4 decks of cards in this game, and going to different spots allows you to use different colored cards. Each card specializes in something unique, which we'll go over as we get to that color. And then right here, speaking of the colors, now the purple cards are the party cards. And in this case, purple cards are mostly used to sell barrels. Right next to it is a big important part about this game, which allows you to increase any of your stats. Now this is not only one way you score points, but also to increase your stats. So increasing any color allows you to do more of that thing. For instance, if we were to increase purple, it'll allow us to sell more barrels. And every time you increase one of your stats, you also will increase your infamy on this infamy tracker along the right side of the board. The reason why this is important is because as you reach different levels, you can unlock more family members, you'll increase the money that you get back for barrels, and other bonuses too. Okay, next spot, let's head on over to the garage. So here is where I have my first big issue with the game. We know this symbol increases your stats, but on the bottom, this allows you to bring in a truck on the board. I love it when games streamline your actions. When you do one thing, and it incentivizes another. But here's where Speakeasy micromanages all the little actions that you can take. Because in the garage, you can now bring in a truck. Now, what do you do with this truck? Well, it has a little bed empty here for you to put barrels. That's pretty cool. I love that little toy component there. But next question is, well, how do I get barrels? I have to spend another action, which is over here, the docks, in order for me to play an orange card. These orange cards are gonna allow me to produce barrels at a still. Leads to the next one, well, how do I get a still? I'd have to go over here to build one to begin with and have enough money to also build a still as well. So if we were to backtrack, this is the order that happens. I need to have a still. And then I need to go over here to the docks in order to use an orange card and produce barrels at the still. From there, my truck can carry 2 at a time. So let's say I can bring in 2 barrels. When you produce barrels at the still, you actually will slot in a card into your player board, and then also these barrels get produced right here. After that, these barrels will get loaded onto your truck. From there, I need to use movement in order to get my truck going. So now I'm gonna use this action in the garage and move my truck over up to 2 spaces. And I get a bonus to range in case I wanted to move further this round. When I deliver these barrels, I can only deliver 1 barrel to 1 building. That is the max each building can be sold to. And then another restriction, which is cool thematically, but not as fun mechanically, is that your buildings are not in operation if there is a police officer there. Thematically, I think that's fun. It's like you gotta go behind the scenes and be a little shady. In order for you to sell these goods, you need to do it behind the back of a police officer. But in order to do that, you need to have a bodyguard on there in order for you to defend this building. How do you gain a bodyguard? You go over to the city hall in order for you to play a red card if you have it, and then you also need to pay a certain resource, which is leverage tokens, in order for you to afford the family member to send over here to defend your building. I did all that to make $10. That's where the game makes me exhausted. I digress a bit and I'll touch on this a little bit more later, but let's finish off the spots that we can go to so we can understand where I'm coming from. City Hall is where I explained that you can gain a family member or a goon, and then you can use the red cards in order for you to send family members in order to protect your buildings. But to do that, you notice that there's a symbol over here which gives you leverage. So how much leverage you need to spend in order for you to send family members to protect your buildings is shown here, which is the player turn area. So if I was first, I would have to spend 4 leverage tokens in order for me to defend a building. And then on the top right, this is to gain a goon, which you now know that allows you to increase your strength when taking over these mob areas and also during the mob war. A couple more spots left. If I go to the commissions, one allows me to increase my stats. The other one allows me to gain a helper card, which are those one-time use cards. But what's new here is shown on the bottom left. This symbol means that I can now associate with a mobster. So there's a mobster board on the very right, and these mobsters get stronger as the acts progress. So you take this mobster and put it onto your board. Now you can use their strength by paying them the cash listed when you have these mob takeovers. Plus they each have a number above them, and this is where you associate it with the mobster, which means you can no longer take over buildings because there's an honor among thieves. And then at the docks, you can use an orange card to produce stills. You can gain a goon for free because normally you do have to pay money in order for you to gain goons, but this allows you a free goon. And the bottom left is a big action. This allows you to attack one of the ships at the docks. So to ambush a rum runner ship, you need to have 1 family member there. And your attack strength here is equal to the amount of family members that you have here times your strength. So if I have 3 family members and I have 4 strength, that would equal 12 strength, which allows me to take over this particular ship. It's also cool that I can use other family members here in case there was another family member in this spot, but then I do have to pay them $1. And then when I take over that ship, I then gain 1 of these barrels, and this crate gives you a unique way of scoring a good amount of cash. And the reason why the ship's moving is important is that way you don't just capitalize on one particular area with all your family members there. You have to do actions in order for you to move your family members around. Now, one thing I didn't mention earlier was that when you build out these speakeasies, you also will gain a unique city tile. These are similar to helper cards because they give you a bonus as well, and there are slots for you to put it onto your board, but you don't get to immediately play them. And to do so, you go over to the restaurant. This has an infinite amount of people that can go here, but when you go here, you have to spend a card in order for you to move your turn. So this is how your turn changes from each time people go here. This symbol means you can play up to 2 of your city tokens, which again are one-time use abilities like gaining cards or gaining goons. There are a lot of different bonuses. And the final spot, let's say, hey, I wanted to go to the garage. Well, the last spot you can go to is the park, which allows you to mirror that action. So then you can switch over with another capo. But in exchange, that person that gets switched will now get one of these bonuses listed on the bottom. So in summary, what you do in your turn is you play 1 helper card. And if you do, it goes to the back of your player screen. Your player screens separate the money that you have in your vault versus the money that you have dispensable. If you spend money from your vault, you have to do it at 2 times the rate. So if I had to spend something that was $5, I'd have to spend $10 from the vault. At the restaurant, you can also cook books. So there are a bunch of different achievements or public goals all around the board. If you have enough books and you meet the requirements listed there, you can turn in your books and you will score cash listed on that particular area. So in summary, you can play 1 helper card on your turn, and then after that, you send out 1 capo out to speak with a person of interest. Once everyone has spent all their capos, then it goes on to the mob war. Now, new mobsters come onto the board, and you have to be able to defend against these stronger mobsters by comparing strength. If you have enough, you keep your building, and if you don't, then you lose your building for the rest of the game. You repeat sending your capos and having a mob war for 4 axle rounds, decreasing the number of actions you have each time with the final act, giving you only 1 capo instead. In Speakeasy, what I love is that your actions decrease over time. So that's really cool because it allows you to be more precise, more surgical in how you determine what you want to do. I love that metaphorically, you have to turn dials just a little bit in order for you to just snap open that lock. But at the same time, I can see this being a huge problem for those that are AP prone. I played this at 4 players with 2 AP prone players, and I would not want to repeat that experience again. Because if you think about it, you have a handful of cards to think about. You also have 8 different spots to choose from that have actions that go from top to bottom. And then you have like 17 goals on the board. That is asking for a bad time for anyone that is AP prone. So what I struggle to enjoy about this game is that your actions feel so divided. And it doesn't make me feel good to know that I have to perform all of these little tiny actions to have such little progress. And people are gonna argue, well, just get good. For me, I don't find it fun to spend an entire turn to make such little progress. It's like I'm trying to dig a tunnel and I have a construction truck, I have jackhammers, I have dynamite, and here I am digging this tunnel with a little spoon. It's like I want to get to the other side because all the good stuff is there and I don't mind enjoying the journey, but ticking at this tunnel at such a small pace doesn't make it fun for me. Now on the upside, I love how the stakes are high because if you don't defend your buildings during the mob war, they're gone for the whole game. The theme is spot on, and why I've always been such a fan of Lacerda games is that he ties in these historical facets so well and that there's so many cool different details that it's very, very clever in the game that I enjoy. You know, I love how he tied in the whole theme behind the docks and the police monitoring your casinos and you having to associate with other mobsters in order to gain some dark influence in this world. That made me very excited for Speakeasy. And I've also played this game twice solo and once at 4 players. And in the solo mode over here, you basically draw a card and Joe, the AI, will block some spots for you. And you just follow through actions drawn on his card. If you want a very meaty solo game, one that is going to allow you to play out a lot of different combos in this thematic world, then Speakeasy will do that wonderfully for you. So overall, Speakeasy isn't a game for me in the end. I obviously want to love this game, having spent $150 on it, and the theme is spot on. I love the production value of this. It's something that got me very excited initially, but after playing through it, I just feel like it micromanages me so much to the point where it's hard for me to recommend this game because that payoff isn't fully there. if you watch the channel for some time now, you know that I love heavy games. I teach them on a weekly basis, so I don't mind teaching heavy and complex games, but it's so hard for me. Like, I just get anxiety thinking about teaching this game and getting to the point where I have to tell my friends, this is how you sell a barrel. Because that one point alone, it's like, it's so much to get through to get to the other side. Like, don't get me wrong, there are so many clever things with this design, but for the price point and for the time to get to the fun, it's a hard game for me to recommend, and one I will probably not be keeping in the collection. With that said, I hope you all enjoyed today's review on Speakeasy. Let me know all your thoughts about this game. I would love to hear all your thoughts about Speakeasy, and if you made it to the very end, go ahead and comment cooked. Because either way, you get pretty cooked in this game. Thank you all so much for watching. That was hella corny. Whatever. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.